Hello, I'm Nathan J. Robinson of Current Affairs magazine. On September 27th, federal appellate judge Brett Kavanaugh testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee to respond to an allegation that as a teenager he had sexually assaulted Christine Blasey Ford. Conservatives hailed Kavanaugh's testimony as a masterful response to a baseless smear, one that might even change the course of American history. However, over the course of his testimony, Kavanaugh repeatedly lied under oath, meaning that not only should his nomination immediately be withdrawn, but he's committed a serious federal crime. In Current Affairs, I've extensively documented the numerous lies and manipulations Kavanaugh engaged in over the course of his testimony. Here, I'm going to detail a small number of these in order to show why Kavanaugh can't be a Supreme Court justice or really any kind of judge at all. First, let's remember what Christine Blasey Ford actually alleges Kavanaugh did.
I am here today not because I want to be. I am terrified. I am here because I believe it is my civic duty to tell you what happened to me while Brett Kavanaugh and I were in high school. Brett groped me and tried to take off my clothes. He had a hard time because he was very inebriated and because I was wearing a one-piece bathing suit underneath my clothing. I believed he was going to rape me. I tried to yell for help. When I did, Brett put his hand over my mouth to stop me from yelling. This is what terrified me the most and has had the most lasting impact on my life. It was hard for me to breathe, and I thought that Brett was accidentally going to kill me.
Ford's testimony was incredibly disturbing, and any sensible Congress would immediately halt the nomination process and begin a full investigation. But many on the right have treated Ford's own words as essentially worthless, because there are no other eyewitnesses to the attack, and because Ford can't remember a number of specific details, such as exactly when and where it happened. But, okay, how do we know that Christine Ford is telling the truth? Well, we can never know anything like that absolutely definitively. But here's what we do know. We know that when Brett Kavanaugh was questioned about the allegation, he lied repeatedly under oath, and that, in and of itself, is enough to end his nomination. Here's lie number one. To defend himself against the accusation, Kavanaugh submitted calendars that he had meticulously kept showing what he was doing during the summer the attack was alleged to have happened. Kavanaugh said that if you look at the calendars, you won't see any gathering with the people Ford alleged were present when she was assaulted.
The calendars show a few weekday gatherings at friends' houses after a workout or just to meet up and have some beers. But none of those gatherings included the group of people that Dr. Ford has identified. And as my calendars show, I was very precise about listing who was there. Very precise.
But who are the people Ford says were present? Well, here's what she says.
There were 4 boys I remember specifically being at the house. Brett Kavanaugh, Mark Judge, a boy named PJ, and one other boy whose name I cannot recall.
So Ford says Kavanaugh was there with his friends Mark Judge and PJ. Kavanaugh says he never attended a gathering with the group Ford lists. But when we look at Kavanaugh's calendar, we see that on Thursday, July 1st, he went to Timmy's for skis with Judge, Tom, PJ, Bernie, and Squee. When questioned, Kavanaugh didn't deny that skis meant brewskis. But there are 2 of the people, Mark Judge and PJ, that Ford listed and that Kavanaugh denied gathering with. Kavanaugh says he didn't, but his own calendar submitted as evidence shows that he did. Here's the second lie. Kavanaugh said 3 times that the people Ford says were there all say it didn't happen.
All 4 witnesses who were alleged to be at the event said it didn't happen, including Dr. Ford's longtime friend, Ms. Kaiser, and it's been investigated, and all 4 witnesses say it didn't happen. and they've said it under penalty of felony. The core of why we're here is an allegation for which the 4 witnesses present have all said it didn't happen. The witnesses who were there say it didn't happen.
But that's not true. PJ said in his statement that he had no knowledge or memory of anything like that happening, and Ford's friend Leyland said she didn't remember the party or know Kavanaugh, but that is actually very different from saying that it didn't happen. Now, if you asked me about small gatherings I attended in high school on a weeknight, there are plenty I probably don't remember, but that doesn't mean that they didn't happen or that my lack of recollection means I'm denying that they happened. In fact, Ford's friend Leyland has said that while she doesn't remember the specific event, she believes Dr. Ford. That's her saying she thinks it did happen, but Kavanaugh says that she says it didn't happen. This is a lie. He's misrepresenting what she said in order to boost his false assertion that all of the alleged witnesses say that it didn't happen, which they don't. Here's big lie number 3, alcohol. There are actually 3 sexual misconduct allegations against Brett Kavanaugh, and all of them allege that Kavanaugh had been drinking heavily at the time the incidents occurred. Kavanaugh, however, has said that while he liked beer as much as any ordinary young person, he was not the kind of hard-partying, belligerent frat boy that the allegations all suggest. An important part of his defense is that the allegations are inconsistent with his character, that in reality he was shy, studious, and religious. Kavanaugh resisted every attempt to suggest that he regularly drank to excess.
In your yearbook, you talked about drinking and sexual exploits, did you not?
Senator, let me take a step back and explain high school. I was number 1 in the class. Freshman.
And I thought only
no.
I thought only the Senate.
You got this up. I'm gonna talk about my high school. No. I did my service projects at the school, which involved going to the soup kitchen downtown. Let me finish. And going to tutor intellectually disabled kids at the Rockville Library.
Beach Week Ralph Club biggest contributor. What does the word Ralph mean in that?
That probably refers to throwing up. I'm known to have a weak stomach, and I always have. In fact, the last time I was here, you asked me about having ketchup on spaghetti. This is well known. Anyone who's known me, like a lot of these people behind me, have known me my whole life, know, I got a weak stomach, whether it's with beer or with spicy food or anything.
So the vomiting that you reference in the Ralph Club reference related to the consumption of alcohol?
Senator, I was the top of my class academically, busted my butt in school, captain of the varsity basketball team, got into Yale College. When I got into Yale College, got into Yale Law School, worked my tail off.
And did the word Ralph you used in your yearbook relate
I already
to
answered
alcohol?
the question. If you're,
Did it relate to alcohol?
I like
You
beer.
haven't answered that.
I like beer. I don't know if you do.
Okay.
Do you like beer, Senator, or not? What do you like to drink?
Next one is
Senator, what do you like to drink?
Judge.
Was there ever a time when you drank so much that you couldn't remember what happened or part of what happened the night before?
No, I remember what happened, and I think you've probably had beers, Senator, and so.
So you're saying there's never been a case where you drank so much that you didn't remember what happened the night before or part of what happened?
You're asking about, blackout. I don't know. Have you?
Could you answer the question, Judge? That's not happened. Is that your answer?
Yeah, and I'm curious if you have.
But Kavanaugh's testimony here is a big, fat lie. First, many of his defenses are implausible on their face. Kavanaugh was part of the Keg City Club in high school that tried to get through 100 kegs in a year. He was in the Beach Week Ralph Club, which Kavanaugh admitted referred to vomiting, but implausibly insisted was just because he had a sensitive stomach. Kavanaugh's friend and alleged co-perpetrator, Mark Judge, even wrote a book called wasted Tales of a Gen X Drunk, in which a character called Bart O. Kavanaugh drinks a lot and pukes all over a car. Now, separate from his testimony, though, people who knew Kavanaugh at the time insist that he's lying. The New York Times found nearly a dozen of Kavanaugh's Yale classmates who all say he was a heavy drinker. His freshman year roommate said he was frequently incoherently drunk and that he became aggressive and belligerent. We have another account of Kavanaugh being violent when drunk. We have numerous quotes attesting to this same behavior on Kavanaugh's part. Here's his classmate, Liz Swisher.
There's no problem with drinking beer in college. The problem is lying about it. He drank heavily. He was a partier. He liked to do beer bongs. He played drinking games. He was a sloppy drunk.
There are plenty more quotes like this, and they matter because Kavanaugh has been so insistent that this isn't true, and he's insisted under oath, and it forms a core part of his defense to the allegations. He wasn't the kind of person he's depicted at in the allegations, but it turns out, at least insofar as he drank a lot of alcohol, that he was that kind of person. Lie number 4. Renate Illuminus. When Kavanaugh was in high school, he knew a woman named Renate or Renata Dolphin, and in his yearbook, he and his buddies listed themselves as Renate alumni. Now, classmates of Kavanaugh at Georgetown Prep have said that this was a subtle way of bragging about having slept with her. Classmate Sean Hagan said that he was personally disgusted by the behavior of these boys towards Renate. Now, Dolphin herself was horrified by the references when she found out about them, saying that she prayed that their daughters were never treated in this way. But in his testimony, Kavanaugh said that this was actually an innocent tribute to Renate's friendship.
That yearbook reference was clumsily intended to show affection and that she was one of us. But in this circus, the media has interpreted the term as related to sex. It was not related to sex.
This is pretty hard to swallow, but if you're tempted to believe it, here's something else one of the boys wrote about Renate in their yearbook. You need a date, but it's getting late, so don't hesitate to call Renate. Now, it's pretty clear what they were implying about her. Why does this matter, though? Isn't this a small thing? Well, number one, it matters because Kavanaugh has said he was an innocent virgin in high school who would never have said something like this about a girl, and that's a lie. And number two, we might think someone who casually objectified girls might be more likely to be abusive. Now, the lies I've shown you are just the beginning. There's plenty more in his testimony that's manipulative and deceptive. I've laid it all out at currentaffairs.org. Now, importantly, even if you don't believe anything that Ford alleges about Kavanaugh, Kavanaugh has disqualified himself through not telling the truth to the Senate. I also want to add that while the focus of the hearings and the current controversy is on whether Kavanaugh committed sexual assault and then lied to the Senate about it, he does also happen to be a terrible judge who shouldn't have been confirmed anyway, and he has a long history of callous and harmful decisions. You can read about those too on our website. When you examine for yourself the testimony and the evidence, you will have to conclude that Brett Kavanaugh lied repeatedly to Congress. Now, perjury is punishable by up to 5 years in federal prison. It's not enough for Kavanaugh's nomination to be withdrawn, although it has to be. If duly sworn oaths are to mean anything, Kavanaugh must immediately be impeached, removed from office, and prosecuted. A judge cannot lie under oath, and a judge cannot be above the law. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our handsome print edition and our charming podcast.